إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد عباد الله. All praise due to Allah, and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and his followers until the day of judgment. I bear witness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one worthy of worship, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his last and final messenger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He mentioned His blessings upon us, one of the things that He have mentioned for us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have created for us among ourselves, spouses that we might dwell with them in love, mercy, and tranquility and peace. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, among His sign, خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, that He made your spouse to you like a second. And a second, like we have a very famous word in Arabic, maskan, which it means home, is like a home, because at home you feel safe, you feel protected, you feel at ease. As we say, nothing like home. And that's supposed to be how you feel about your spouse. There is nothing like your spouse. There is nothing that can replace the role of your spouse in your life. It's amazing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created Adam alayhi salam, and where Adam was at first, in Jannah, كان في جنة الخلد. And that a place, I leave it for your imaginations, what kind of things that people enjoy and have in Jannah. But still Adam, after a while, was bored, because he was by himself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at one night, or one of the time when he was sleeping, Allah created Eve from his sight. And he woke up and he found her next to him. And that companionship, that's the thing that he was missing the most, even though he was in Jannah. And you just imagine that he still have a need, was not fulfilled in Jannah by all the joys of Jannah. Until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought for him a spouse to be a partner. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them the husband and wife pair, zawj, and basically partner, sharikatul hayah wa sharikul hayah. It is very sad when you hear there is so many of us don't value the blessings of family, the blessing of having a spouse, having a husband, or having a wife. And sometimes, I guess, because of a long life, people kind of don't value that how this is so important in our life and in our community, in our society at large. And what I want to basically point to, that not only we don't value it, sometimes we abuse that relationship. And it's been since I came back from overseas, just a week. And if I tell you, in just 1 week, I had 3 to 4, couples that complaining about the amount of aggressions and the amount of problems that is growing in their household. Young boys and young girls complaining about how dry their homes are, how they don't see that love and the mercy presented or basically demonstrated by both sides. And I don't believe it's only the fault of the husband or the fault of the wife. And it's interesting, every time you sat with one of the spouse or one of the two, they always try to basically complain about the other person, the other side. And when you hear the other side of the story, you said, oh my God, this is the other guy, he is the bad, or she is the basically the one who neglecting him, and so forth. But the reality is, Not some cases is clear. There is one side being very aggressive and taking advantage of the other one. But I notice in many cases that there is always a shared problem. And what really motivated me to talk about this today, not because it's a Valentine's Day and there is a lot of love and romance in the air, when I thought it's natural, we live in society and we are affected by what's going on around us, you know? But that's maybe one thing, but it's more important for me, it is how sometimes aggression is justified by the name of religion. Justified by the name of religion. And that's, last week, or this week actually, on Tuesday, when I was teaching, or Wednesday when I was teaching my class in Bulugh al-Maram, I was talking about the issue of giving salam to the opposite gender. And I said, whenever you give salam to the opposite gender, you should give the salam to the sister or to the brother, which is allowed. There is a hadith in this regard, but you should do it in the appropriate manners. You know, like what I said that day, I said you can't be just, if you see a brother and you are a man, and you see a brother, you said, Salaam alaikum. But when you see a sister, the tone will be completely mild and like, you know, so like seductive. No, you can't do that. Why Salaam alaikum is, to me, is different than her. You know, that's not right. And sometimes people use, I said, and it's worse than that when people use things from the religion to reach or to fulfill their own haram desires. Can you imagine you use the religion to do what is haram? You use Assalamu alaikum to hit on a girl or to get the guy attention. That's so bad. You know what? Do it without, because you double your sin. You double your problem. Using the deen for the dunya, which is something so terrible. And similar to this, what I have noticed when it comes to the relationships between husband and wife, that is commonly religion used to abuse and to be used in a wrong way. Like there is people, the only thing they know from the religion, that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if someone need to make sujood to someone, it would be the woman to her, basically, husband. The only thing that basically that they know from the religion, how the angels curse the wife if she doesn't answer the call of the husband. But they don't understand that these hadith have basically go both ways. And these verses goes both ways. As you expect something from your spouse, they should expect the same from you. And that's the right understanding of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. As Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu used to say, Wallahi, sometimes I don't ask my wife to do so much for me, because if she does, I have to do the same to her. I have to be equal, to the extent that he said, if she take care of her hair and she dress and she purify herself, I will do the same to myself. I will not have a messy beard or messy hair, you know, or smell bad. You know, he will basically purify himself for her to that extent. Versus the people who abuse the religion just because they are monsters in their nature, or because they are aggressive, or because they are annoying, or because whatever attitude or problem or sick, you know, attitude that they have in life. And I would like to share just few points, because it is so important for us as a community to make sure that our home from inside is fixed. Because we can't build very far if our foundations are shaking. That's why the theme of this year is actually about home improvement. And we had a workshop about a few weeks or last month talking about, you know, one step towards that home improvement, and the second one coming in a couple of weeks, inshallah ta'ala, or so. It is, as I said, is very important because family is the cornerstone for any society, for any community to be built. And I would just want to say that good relationships doesn't just happen. It has to be built. There has to be effort put into it. It can't just, you can't imagine that, you know what, you and her will be perfect and you and him will be perfect. No. And if there is no willingness from both sides, usually it doesn't work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said beautifully when he talked about an-nushuz and you know, basically when there is where the marriage reached to a point of breaking point, that they're going to be separated from each other. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِن يُرِيدَ إِصْلَاحًا يُوَفِّقِ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا. When both sides want to fix the problem, want to reconciliate, Allah give tawfiq. But when I talk to the husband and husband said, you know what, she need to change. When I talked to the wife, she said, you know what, I'm doing everything. You would never find a wife like me ever. You know, I'm the best woman exists in the world that you can ever dream of. He's not worth even 10% of me. You know, I was so a princess in my father's home until this man took me. He's not worth, you know, to have me. If she has that attitude, if he has that attitude, usually it doesn't work. You know, I want to make this crystal clear. If you think that you are better than your spouse, you are wrong. If you think that you are better than your spouse, you are wrong. Because that's arrogance. To look down upon others is have no respect for his or her opinion. When you have no respect for his or her, you know, feelings or what they want. That's why I always say, if your spouse think that this is important, it is important. It's not because in itself it is important. It is because your spouse think it is important. For example, if your husband, it's a very big deal for him that you do this or that, it is important even if you as a wife don't think what's so big deal about it. What a big deal is my husband loves that. What a big deal that, you know, my husband appreciate that. What's so big deal that my wife love that. My wife wants that. That's making it important. And that's a rule that you should go by. Remember, if your spouse said that this is important, it is important. And also, I always say, in Valentine's Day, people, or middle month, or birthday, or whatever, Eid, you give gifts to your wife, you give gifts to your husband. I'll tell you about the best gift that you can ever give to your spouse. And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong, please. Come to me in any time from now until next year and tell me, Shaykh, you were wrong. I do believe that the best gift that you can give your spouse is basically that your own happiness. Just to be a happy person to be around. Oh my God. Just to be around someone who is nakedi, always complaining, always negative, always this, always that. You know, it's unbelievable. When somebody always sad and always angry and always worries and always not happy, who wants to be around this person? Not a person that's the worst thing that you can be ever around. That's why you remember this. And guess what? Your spouse will never make you happy, because no one ever can make you happy. The only one can make you happy is yourself. So make sure that you yourself are a happy person. Make sure that if somebody trying to ruin it for you, tell them, hey, I'm happy today. So let's keep it that way. You know, whenever you see yourself happy, content, عندك قناعة, عندك رضا, you're basically happy with your life, happy with your, when you, happiness doesn't, it means also you want to improve, but you're happy. Believe me, that's the best gift that you can ever give to your spouse. Also, I would say that whenever to come to one of the common things, these are random points I just put together. One of the things that I noticed that a lot of people put a lot of strange rules in marriage. And I'm not talking about the rules in Islam. I've been to a place where a husband put a red tape, and I mean that literally, a red tape, 2 feet away from the certain places in the house, like the window, and he said, you can't cross that tape. Azad? He put certain rules. You know, you can't basically have that person, your family member, to call them. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do. She's not your daughter. Even your daughter don't do that with her. She's not your son. Even your son can't do that most of the time these days. She's your spouse. He is your husband. You know, I have some rules. Some women also put a very strange rules on men. You know, I heard a couple of funny things, like, I was like, wow. You know, you can't talk to that person. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'll tell you something about rules. I don't care whatever rules you have at home. Okay? But, you know, some rules even has to do with what you dress. Can you believe that? What you wear, what you don't wear, what color that you put on. And he make it as a rule. And he thinks because I'm a husband, I have to be obeyed. You know, I can make that rule. And I'll say to you, that's not how marriage works. I don't care what rules you guys have at home, other than the Sharia, other than the halal and haram. But this is how it should be based on. The only rule that should go at home is the rule that you both agree upon. Not one person. You should come to an agreement. You know what? This is how I like. This is what. In the end of the day, one of you, you know, will have to give up to the other. Otherwise, the marriage will break. But you can't just force and make it basically shovel things in your spouse's throat, because soon that rule will be broken. And I also would like to say, it is never too late to repair a damage to your marriage. It's never too late. As long as you're married to each other, even if it has been years, you're neglecting her rights. And also would like to say, especially about the thing that happened in the past. I'm sure there is so many of you like myself. When I got married in a relatively early age. Wasn't that smart, you know, when it comes to how maybe to be the best father, the best, you know, husband. Maybe some of you been in that position. But you know what? It is so important to go back, especially, alhamdulillah, I don't think I did, but if you ever did something that's hurtful, go back and say, I'm sorry. You remember that 10, 15, 20 years ago when you accused her falsely or you hit her? You should say sorry, because these things don't go away. You remember that, you know, 20 years ago when you did that to your husband or whatever, you cheated on him or you did something wrong or you harm his family, you should say, I'm sorry. And then opening the old, there's have this idea, don't open the old wounds. You know, they never close. Especially if it's something very hurtful, and people really harmed by it. You should make a closure. You just don't move on. A lot of people, when they have a problem at home, they think time will take care of it. I always say time sometimes take care of it in the wrong way. Make it bigger and deeper and hard to deal with. Like wounds, sometimes if you leave them and you don't clean them and you don't, you know, try to close that wound, it became worse. And very hard for you to make it heal ever. And also would like to say that love is not just a feeling. It's actions that shows that feeling. That's why, subhanAllah, the word love in Arabic, al-hub, يقال حب الماء إذا ظهر. Love in Arabic language means something appeared. Something have to be demonstrated. Not only by saying I love you, which is important, but demonstrate that in actions. Because action speaks way much louder than, you know, words. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was amazing in how he shows his love to his wives. He will kiss her, he will hold her, he will take her. He traveled. You know, don't tell me you're more busy than the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Don't tell me the thing that you deal with in your life are more important and more significant than the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's things that he dealt with in his lifetime. That's hard for me to imagine that. I'm sure you're busy. I'm not saying you're not. But look at the Prophet ﷺ still managed to take his wife when he traveled to the battlefield. To the battlefield. He would take his wife and race with him when he was invited by someone, and he said, I'll bring my wife with me. She's thinking about her. That's why I love what one of my friends said. Don't ever treat your spouse like a fly. You know what he means? Fly, the only time you recognize fly when would start bugging you. If the fly in the room and it doesn't come near you, you don't notice it. But when it starts bugging you, that's when you notice the fly or the mosquito. So don't treat your spouse. Whenever they bug you, that's when you realize that they exist in your life. But as long as they don't talk to you, you just ignore them. That's not right. You should always, that's the Prophet ﷺ said, I will bring my wife with me to the food. He knows. It's not something that he knows that she play a major part in his life and he would like to have her with him when he goes. صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أسأل الله أن يوفقنا وإياكم لمحب يرضى ما تسمع. أقول ما سمعتم واستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد. One of the things that also I would like to say, when it comes to relationships, make sure that you realize a simple fact, that your opinion is not the ultimate truth. It's not true. It's just an opinion. And also we have to treat each other this way. I might be wrong, I might be correct. There is nothing shameful. There is nothing wrong for a man to say, I'm sorry. There is nothing wrong for a man to serve his family. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would serve his family. He would help them, take care of them, take care of his own things. He will fix his bed. He will fix his clothes, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's nothing wrong with you to help. There is certain culture, they feel it's a shameful act. I had a couple that they almost got divorced over what? How dare that she told him, change the diaper. She broke his manhood. She insulted his dignity, his highness. I just want to tell you something. This guy didn't come from overseas. This guy born, raised here in the United States of America. Sicknesses is everywhere. I'm against, I've seen immigrants and people from overseas have the best manners. The most beautiful couple that you want to see. That notion that because he's Arab or because he's Pakistani or because he's this or this descent, it means he's good or bad or that's not, you cannot generalize that. Or because he's, black or white or Hispanic, it means this or that. That's not correct. What really matters is who you are or what kind of attitude that you have. I also would like to say that it's so important for us to know that trust, it takes a long time to build, but it takes just a few seconds to destroy. Don't ever put your trust on the test. Because if it's broken, it's very hard. And if ever you broke your trust with your family, with your wife, with your spouse, it will take years and you have to be patient to rebuild that trust again with them. I always believe that marriage, in order for it to flourish and to be strong, it has to be built on love, respect, trust, and mercy. One of them is not enough. If you love her so much, but you don't trust her, would it work? If you love him so much, but you don't trust him that he's capable of supporting the family, capable of leading the house, leading the family, it's not going to work. And also, I would like to say that it is so evil that we use something, as I started my khutbah, I end with the same concept, that you use religion and for the wrong purpose. And the evilness that I want to talk about here now and end my talk with is using divorce or second marriage as a threat and a way to bend your spouse. And everything, you're divorced, I will not spend money on you, I will do this, I will do that. It's like a father telling his son, I'm not going to give you inheritance. I'm not going to give you inheritance. As if you own your inheritance. You don't own it. He take it غصباً عن خشمك. He take it without your permission. She takes her financial right from you, even if she's the worst wife in the world. She still have the right over it. You can't use that. Your zakah and your money and your obligation to spend is obligation on you. You can do whatever the volunteer thinks it's some other way. But what I'm saying is that excessive use of divorce. I divorce, a threat. And on the other hand, some men have this now these days, or like you hear, I will marry another one. I will find another wife. I will do this. I will do that. That's not a way. That's not how you solve your problems. You just make it more deeper and more complicated. Or on the other hand, I will leave you. Also, I hear this a lot from a lot of brothers. The wife said, I will leave you, I will leave you, I will leave you. Threaten. You know, marriage doesn't work by threat. Marriage works when there is basically a conversation, a dialogue. You know, when we talk to each other, it's not at each other. There's nothing wrong to ask for help. Believe me, I know a little bit about it, not because I've done it, but I know because I see this happening a lot. Family counselors are much cheaper than lawyers. Okay? Are much cheaper than lawyers. So if you're going to go to the divorce, you know, to get a marriage counselor, it's better than getting a lawyer to lawyer up for divorce. So my advice to you is make this as, you know, an opportunity. Be creative on how to reconnect with your spouse. I don't care if you're 90 years old or you are 19 years old. Because marriage always needs for romance to stay fresh. بأبي وأمي هو صلى الله عليه وسلم. In his 60s, and he still, before he goes out, he gives his wife a kiss. Before he goes out. You know, you leave and you come back and she even knows that you left. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Romance, just that, you know, he see one of his wife crying, he brushed her and wiped her tears, and he said, I wish that what the pain in you, in me. He will hold the camel and let her basically step on his thigh so she can ride the camel. And like in modern days, I always say, like, you know, you pull the chair when you go to the restaurant. It's not enough to give her only one gift and birthday and, you know, just to remind her of her age. Or birthday and his, you know, birthday or whatever, Eid, and the rest of the marriage or the rest of the year is so dry. It doesn't work this way. We need to keep it alive. We need to be creative. I know a brother who's a consultant, travels a lot. That's interesting. And he shared this with me. You know, and I'm saying this not to think bad about your spouse, but to see how you can make your marriage fresh. So he traveled a lot. So she bought that Hershey Kisses, okay? And she wrapped around each one of Hershey Kisses, you know, one good thing that she loves about him. And she give it to him every time he traveled a week and come back maybe after 2 weeks. So I have 14 of them. He said, I gain a lot of weight, not because I eat in restaurants, because of all the chocolate I get. You know, so every night, I read something about what she thinks good about me. And he said, believe me, Shaykh Waleed, he said that the thing that she pointed out as she loves about me, okay, I try to do it more and more and more often. And as an educator, I can tell you, in education we always say, focus on the positive, because when you focus on what is wrong, students don't devour, don't get it. And if you keep telling me, that's wrong, 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 I don't change. The behavior will not change. But if you tell me this is right, this is correct, and reinforce the positive basically in my life, you will see me improving. So this is something, just an example. You can be very creative in how you connect with your spouse. Creativity in marriage is so important. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam raced with his wife, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I hope that this is something will help you to think more about it. I know, for example, there is an Umrah trip coming with Sheikh Kamal in a month or so. Maybe this is something you can register, you and your wife only. You know, go to the Umrah for a week or 5 days or so. You know, I heard of couple retreats, some organizations organizing. You know, just be creative, how it's worth spending the money and the effort to bring that romance and that connections again between you and your spouse. Because I can tell you, as your brother, as your Imam, as an activist in this community, we need strong family. We need you to be strong at home so we can have a strong community that's facing all these challenges that we see today in our life. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you and to bless your family, bless your homes, and bring happiness and love to our life and to make it something permanent. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to have the best of manners. Allahumma aslih ahwalana wa ahwala azwajina ya dhal jalal wal ikram. اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم وسع علينا يا أرحم الراحمين وارزقنا حسن الخلق يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. اللهم اغفر وارحم وأنت العز الأكرم وقوموا للصلاة يرحمكم الله.